Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the Service Without Excuses podcast here. I've got a terrific guest tonight, but first I want to talk about our sponsor, Sotellus.com. They are the Cadillac of review management software. Why I say Cadillac is, to me, the Cadillac is one of the greatest cars ever made. Some people may not agree to that, but it is a fancy, fancy car. And for us in our service-based business, it does an incredible job at distributing the reviews that we get, immediately making them effective to potential customers. They're going to read all about us from somebody they probably will never know, but they believe what they're writing and they call us weekly. So we love them. We use them in our own business. So I've got some skin in the game when it comes to it. But go to Sotellus.com/Rob Lyon. That's SOTLLUS/Rob, ROBLYON. I want to welcome our guest tonight. She has been all over the world as a professional speaker. I just read you were a professional volleyball player too.
Beach volleyball, Rob. There's a difference.
There is a difference. Little me doesn't know much about that. He played high school football a little bit and some stuff, but not that. But I have played volleyball, and it is in like I played hockey, and I thought hockey was an adrenaline rush type game until I saw that, and I went, "Wow, that's crazy stuff." Like it just doesn't let up at all. At least you're on the ice when you're doing that. But I have her here tonight. She's going to tell you a little bit more about her. Her name is Barbara. It's Khozam correctly. So I'll say that. Khozam. I said it wrong.
That's right.
That would make sense. I was listening to something. I'm like, I don't know. I think she would capitalize upon the Khozam part more than the Khozam part. But I heard somebody say it, and I'm like, man, I don't want to say it incorrectly here.
It's lots of different ways to say it.
That's awesome. So, well, thank you so much for being here tonight. Barbara is an expert when it comes to customer service and speaking, and I was listening to some of her stories. The toll booth one in particular really got me because we're in Jersey, and if you've ever been to the Northeast, it's not like anywhere else, in America. When you're out in California, people tend to be a little bit more friendly. Nothing against us, but we're a little different up here. So when you're told booth, they're like, "Yeah, give me, get out. You're holding up the line." We don't see things like that up here. It's in fact, I'm one of the guys behind. Come on, I want to go. Because we're always in a rush here. The traffic is awful. I have a friend that lived outside Los Angeles, and he hated the traffic until he finally got here to New York. He went, "God, this is hell." And I thought traffic there was bad, but I mean, yes, as well. The difference is you have a mass transit system here in Los Angeles. You got the bus, and that's it.
Right.
So, it's a crapshoot. You got a lot more cars on the road, but New York is catching up very quickly.
Nice.
Barbara, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
And how far back would you like me to go, Rob? This could take all day.
You can go back as far as you'd like.
All right. Well, we'll just start with college. How about? So I graduated with a degree in chemistry, of all things, out of college. So I worked as a chemist for 10 years. Until I realized I don't like it. So I quit, of course, naturally. No future job prospects. I just quit. I don't recommend this path, by the way. 8 lonely, poor months later. Well, the only part of my job I liked as a chemist was training, when I had to train someone on something, but it was only 10% of my job. So I quit, no future job prospects. So then I'm like, what should I do? So 8 months later, no job, no money, nothing. I joined on with a seminar company called Skill Path Seminars. Have you heard of them? Like Career Track, Fred Pryor, those seminar companies. So, sorry, my cat is going crazy. Anyway,
all good.
So I joined, and I knew the first day of that job, that's what I was supposed to be doing. So I did that for 10 years. There's a pattern here until I realized I don't like that either. So then I started my own company and just started doing customer service. I hired a coach to help me. We narrowed it down to customer service because I've always been obsessed with customer service and attitude, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. That's short and to the point.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Obviously, Service Without Excuses has a little something to do with the service part, is because most of the listeners are in the service business.
Yes.
As we talked before, there's people that are, I got a subscriber the other day that is in construction, like literally digging ditches, not like digging ditches, like digging water mains and sewer lines and stuff like that, that messaged me and said, "I like your podcast." I think it was from the UK. It wasn't even here. And it was just amazing to get people's feedback on different things. But people listen to this based on the customer service standpoint. Years ago, I was doing a quick video when it came to my business that I owned, and it was one of those hologram videos, those annoying hologram videos. Back then, it was hip, it was cool. Walked across, it sounds cool. My sister and I just did it. We walked across the thing, sat in the studio all day, green screen over here. We made this stupid ass video. I don't know how else to say it, but the stupid ass video actually worked because it walked across. The volume was set low, so if somebody's watching it work, they're not going crazy trying to turn things down. So the volume was low and they could turn it up, and the thing actually sold because I spoke to you and talked to you about the business and the benefits to doing that. And they got an idea from just that quick video that maybe we were a company that they might want to deal with. And sure enough, customer service became a major part of it. That's how the Service Without Excuses came apart. It was actually the motto I had for my business, or the tagline, or whatever you want to call it, for the business. People like great customer service. I've been in 3 markets: rural Pennsylvania, New York City, and now in the Jersey Shore area. 3 completely different markets. Every freaking one of them love great customer service, especially the people who are willing to pay for it. I did a job today for somebody that I thought was going to be a struggle based on, and she said, I'm neurotic. I'm telling you that ahead of time. So I go out there and I do the job, and she loves it. She's calling her friends. She's in a certain community here in New Jersey she's calling, saying, you got to get this guy to your house. He's great, whatever. They obsess with customer service. It's not even about the price. And actually her price went up. She added stuff on when I was there. And she said, because you were pleasant, you're a professional, and you gave good customer service.
That's right. It's a distinguishing factor, because I think it's so bad nowadays. Customer service is so bad that if you even are just a little bit better than your competition, you're gonna win. What I love about it, it doesn't take a lot of time to create like those moments, and it doesn't cost a lot of money,
And you're dead on. That's why that was the parlay into where I was going, is that people have gotten used to this beat down, especially now after COVID. It's COVID. We can't get this to you. Oh, it's COVID. You're not going to, it's going to be 3 weeks. It's going to be this. It's going to be whatever. They're so used to hearing an excuse for why they can't. When somebody actually comes along and says, yes, I'll be there at this time. We'll do this. We'll do it for the price quoted. You wanted to add on some work? Great, no problem. We're there. We're going to ask you for a review afterwards. We're not going to run from the review. We're going to give you the review. And if you think we're idiots, then say they were idiots. Whatever you feel like doing, at the same time, give us some honest feedback. It helps us do our job better. Plus, it lets other people make a determination or predetermined notion of what they're going to do. People love great customer service. You have spoken about this all over the world. So it's not New Jersey. It's not California. It's everywhere. And I really totally believe that when we come out of this insanity that we're all going through right now, that people are going to have a changed thought. They're going to be sick of bad customer service. I think they're just going to be fed up to their neck when it comes to it.
I agree. I mean, have you ever called a company recently and you're on hold? Like, I called the company and they said I was the 81st person in line on hold. What? Like, is that good? And there was no option like, leave your number, we'll call you back, whatever, right? No. So I'm 81. But like this, the phone is a disaster nowadays with the hold times and So
it's crazy. Even just the government, like your local, the government, the county, the state, they're supposed to be the responsible people. They're supposed to be the ones that know better. And they are completely and totally awful when it comes to that. I mean, beyond reality. And I'm like, how much can you take? However, going full circle, we're going to circle back like our illustrious press secretary says. People love great customer service. You have worked with service businesses before yourself.
I have.
What have you found that has been a real determining factor? Because you got obviously familiar. We're a unique lot. We have a different mindset. We have a technical mindset to go out there, do the job, go to A to Z, try to deliver that good customer service that we try to do. But we're so technical focused on the day-to-day grind. A lot of times that gets parlayed. And obviously, as I had somebody the other day that was on, talked about, the head rots from the fish rods from the hot head down, whatever that happened to be. You're if the top end people, if the management, leadership, and ownership of a company are awful, then technically the employees probably will follow suit.
That's correct.
And if the culture starts at the top, it's good. It's great. Zappos was that way in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon to a certain degree was that way. Chick-fil-A is that way.
Mm-hmm.
I love hiring former Chick-fil-A employees. If I can steal them away, I will in a heartbeat.
Right.
So I could train them technical, but I can't train them to be nice.
That's correct. Right.
So what are some of the things that you really feel help service businesses benefit from really going above and beyond with customer service?
So one of my clients in the past, they're not my client anymore because they don't need me, damn it. Anyway, but they're a plumbing company. They do plumbing, HVAC, and restoration, like flood. Sure. There's a word term for that.
It's called water damage restoration. I did it for 20 years.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what they did. They had about 140 technicians plus a call center of about 20 folks on the phone. So there's heavy competition, I'm sure, where you live for plumbers, HVAC. Like there's hundreds of them here in San Diego County, which is where I live. So they were really struggling with reviews. The reviews weren't very good and just getting the business. So they hired me. I came in and I went in there once a month and I would do these 30-minute presentations, one for the technicians. Oh boy, these gentlemen loved me. I found if I threw in sexual innuendos that they would pay attention more. So, but they were really into the owner. It was the owner and his wife that were in charge, and they were all about customer service. So it was just like what you said. It was because of them, they passed it on. So I created a standard for them. It was called Basic for the field reps, which was like booties. You wear your booties, you smile, you have a good attitude, you give a business card, you get a review or something. I don't know. So they had these standards. They had to have clean shirts, customer service standards. And if those technicians didn't abide by the standards after like a 90-day period or whatever, they were out of there. So they were really strict with the process, and the structure. But then also in the monthly meetings, they would reward people. They were constantly rewarding, recognizing these technicians as well as the call center folks. So, but it was a constant communication. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to train you on customer service and now we're done. No, they constantly talk about it, reward, they give examples of what they're talking about. So it was an ongoing thing. And then for the reviews, this is pretty cool. They were really low with the reviews. So we decided we needed to start being more proactive about the reviews. So every technician was given an iPad iPad, and they were required to ask for a review at their visit. Well, think about it. If you know as a technician that you have to ask for a review, aren't you going to step up your behavior? I mean, aren't you going to be a little better, I think, right? And if the technician didn't get good reviews after a certain period of time, they're out of there. So they were really proactive in going after the positive stuff.
Think about it. That's one of the, I'm writing a book about reviews and the society we're in that makes decisions on reviews. But it's the Great Equalizer. It basically, if you have an employee and you're going to be like, years ago when I used to run a carpet cleaning franchise, I'd have to do crew visits. Crew visits were painful at best. We'd have to show up, park half a block away, put the shades on, put a hat on, so they wouldn't know who was coming to the house to check up on them. And they would hate it. Like, just show up there and they're like, oh, great, the boss is here. They hated that.
Right.
And I hated doing it. I mean, it was just part of the policy, because as a franchise, you had to meet a certain QC register. And I just hated doing it to the guy. I was one of the guys. I did that for many, many years. And I was like, I know they hate it. I know when I leave, they're cursive. I can hear it. I can feel it in the back of my head.
Right.
Sometimes I literally can feel it. They're throwing stuff out. But I mean, it sucked. Having reviews now by people that make a determination on how your attitude is and how you perform the job or service is the Great Equalizer. Because now as an employer, you can know. Now, are you going to make everybody happy? No, that's not possible. when I read somebody has 5-star reviews across the board and they're very proud of it, I know it's BS. It's just not, it's not the world we live in. I mean, there are people that gave us a bad review because I wouldn't do a job for them because I couldn't meet their results. I couldn't meet their expectations. Why would I? And then they gave me a bad review anyway. And you can't win against people like that. In fact, they're doing commercials now about people and bad reviews. I just heard one the other day. So having that ability to know that and know that that's in place, I think is tremendous. But the culture that it sounds like they did from the top down, they were saying, listen, guys, you're here. We'd love having you here. Want to do the job. Like I used to say to my employees in the past, people love that we show up, but they don't pay us a dime for it. They pay us for a result. And if you're going out to a house doing a job, you're going into a business doing a job, they're paying you for a result. They're not paying you to be the guy that goes up on the construction site and just drinks coffee and smokes cigarettes all day long. They're not paying you for that.
Right.
So they're paying you for giving them great customer service. And I really feel people that capitalize upon that will win.
Absolutely.
You know, what are some of your other thoughts on it that you feel are examples? I'm sure you've got a bunch of them that maybe some of our listeners have, maybe as managers, as owners, that maybe you've run into in the past that could be an example for, you know, maybe a lookout or something they should look out for?
Well, I think nowadays the phone is crucial. You know, like, are your folks trained? Do they answer the phone? Do they say their name? Like, do they answer it so fast that the customer's like, did I just call Burger King? Or like, who are you? You know, like, because I know that you got a lot of calls, right? You know, and so you're like, HVAC, blah, 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 blah. I used to work on the tech. This is how I know. I used to work on the tech support when I was a chemist. I would answer it like this: technical consultation, Barbara, may I help you? And the customer would always say, is your name really Bubba? And I would say, yes. Do you have a problem with that? So like, I would answer it too fast. They don't know what the heck I'm talking. Like, it's a bad first impression. Sure. And then here's like a super easy tip. The customer says, you know what? I've got a plugged toilet. You know, I've got a plugged toilet and I've got guests coming over. Instead of saying, do you want someone at 2 or today at 2 or tomorrow at 10? How about saying, oh gosh, we can help you with that. We can help you with that clogged toilet. Now we've got someone today at 2 or tomorrow at 10. Just that simple acknowledgement, letting them know you got it, will set you apart from the competition.
I agree. And I was just watching something before. I think you were speaking to a crowd and you broke it down saying, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
I'm like, you had said, somebody's calling you. What do you say in the beginning? And I think people were giving you different things back and forth. This is, how about, I'm here to help.
Right.
Something simple, like, because you are there to help. If they're hiring you to come into a house, they're not hiring because, hey, it's the guy down the street.
Exactly.
They're not doing it for that. They're doing it because they're hiring you for your expertise, for your experience, and your professionalism. And one thing I've also found, and this goes in this circle, they don't want to hire people they don't like. If they think you're just abrasive, obnoxious, and listen, we all have bad days. I've had bad days where I've literally had to call the customer back and say, I'm very sorry, I'm an a-hole. I'll leave it at that. Saying I'm having a bad day, or this happened, I should have never spoke to you. And they respect the fact that at least you fall on your own sword. And you know, you may have just had 5 things going on, and then somebody's asking you some incredibly stupid question, but it's the question they have.
Right.
And it might be incredibly stupid to me and to many people, but it was important to them. Right. And I might have thought, I'm very busy. Why are you asking me this incredibly stupid question? But you can't ask somebody that. That's just not something you can do. And I work with service business owners, and literally, like, the owner will talk to employees like they're, I don't want to say like dogs, because I love dogs, and they talk down to them like they're dirt. Worse than dirt. And then they expect that. And then you get them, and I see them get on the phone or talk to somebody, the customer in there, and they're like abrasive to them. I'm like, they're writing the check, dude.
Right.
You know, what have you think you're all that? You think there's not 5 other people? Listen, I call our company New Jersey's Best carpet and tile cleaning. Am I the best carpet cleaner in New Jersey? I freaking doubt it. There's a lot of people that can clean rugs really good. Yeah. We like to pride ourselves in the better customer service and certain other parts to it, but I am not the best cleaner in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it's a good standpoint to saying my standards are high and I try to deliver that. But ultimately, if we don't deliver the product or the service that we tell people we're going to do, they're not going to hire us, especially, again, certainly not going to refer us. And worst case scenario, they're going to get online and go ballistic.
Exactly. Right. So it's all like, to me, it's all about delivering on the expectation. The number one reason for all complaints is an unmet expectation. So is the expectation what you're going to do? Is it what time is a huge one, right? Like they didn't come or call. I never got a follow-up call. Well, were we clear on when the follow-up call was going to occur? Did I say I'll call you later? That's 5 minutes. You called me 5 days. You didn't, like it's all about communication. So if we could tighten up clearly communicate the expectation, we can eliminate a lot of complaints. And so check this out about complaints. I read this statistic. I like this. 82 to 95% of people who complain return if they're satisfied with the company response. So if like I complain and you say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry you had that problem. That should not have happened to you. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. If you did that, give me empathy, acknowledge, give me a solution. 95% of these people become loyal. Not like satisfied, loyal.
Yeah, because you're falling on your own sword. You're taking accountability for it.
I like that example you just shared.
We had a customer called. A guy calls me up yesterday, or actually sends me an email that says, I've got 550 square feet of terrazzo tile. And I'm like, okay. So I talked to him and I says, no problem. He goes, well, can you come out and look at it before? So I says, well, listen, I kind of gave you a quote over the phone. You can send me some pictures. We can finalize it there, but I do schedule a truck to come out there to do it to keep the cost reasonable. If I have to send a truck out to do it, to come out and measure it and do all this stuff, that just increases the cost. We do it so often. It's not a big deal. If you're concerned about it, just send me a picture of it. I'll let you know A or nay, no problem. So he says, okay. And he gives me his price of 550 square feet today. He calls me this morning and says, you're supposed to be here at 9:00. I'm thinking, I'm the last guy that talked to you last night. And you told me to send you a text with the quote, with the price and everything in it. And he's like, no, you're supposed to be here at 9:00. Your office staff said you'll be here at 9:00. And again, I have a person that answers our phone. She did not say that. And I was the last person that talked to him. Immediately, I could have just lit this and say, listen, man, you're full of it, and just let it go. And I'm already slammed and I have no real free time. But that little trigger in the back of your head, so you know what? At the time, you thought it was a 550 square foot job, probably an $800 clean and seal. It turns out it was a fraction. That's a $400 or $500 clean and seal. I got there and I was like, you're way under what you said. Here's the quote. Here's what it'll be. Here's the thing. But I still drove out there and rushed out there, fitted in, was late to my next job, called the customer and said, ma'am, I just want to let you know I'm running a little bit behind. Thank you so much. I appreciate you're going to be here closer to 11. Yes, I'm going to be closer to 11. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for letting me know. A lot of people wouldn't do that. Click, hang the phone. And I go there and I estimate and I get back. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get the job or not, but I had every right to light into this guy and say, I never made this appointment with you. If he wrote me a bad review, it would be about him confusing himself. And by the way, as I was pulling away, another truck was pulling up. So that's who he called. So I showed up to the job, and actually that's the guy, and he was probably running late because he was right there right afterwards. So, but I that's a situation that is, we are not at fault for, but you can be at fault for it if you handle it poorly.
That's correct. Right. Yeah. It's all about communication. It's all a little bit about empathy. Like, what does an angry person want? They want to be acknowledged, right? So if we can acknowledge what, I don't have to agree with it, acknowledge what they're going through, tell them what you're going to do. You could
and just do it and flat
out. That's correct. Do it, for God's sakes.
It's not rocket science. It is,
I know.
it is going out there and doing it. As I was telling you before, when I first moved to New York, I had a business partner, and if he's listening to this, he's just gonna, his eyes are gonna roll. But I get there and I go, why is everybody late? Customers are calling up, where are you guys? You're supposed to be here. He's like, it's New York.
Oh boy.
It's New York. What does that mean? And he goes,
yeah.
Now, I lived in the Philadelphia market for years. That's a pretty decent sized market too, as well. You called if you were late. It's nowhere near the size of New York, but it's a big city. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, I says, let me look at your reviews. And they were disastrous, and they were across the board. They never showed up. They showed up 2 hours late. They showed up this. I mean, all of his problems were geared around showing up on time. And these reviews were just killing him. And I says, listen, number one, that business is done. You can't come back from this. Like, there's no way we can flip that around. Let's refocus, rebrand the business, start from scratch. And this is the protocol that's going to be in place, right down to review management and on time and GPS tracking in the trucks and all the things that we needed to know. And we used to do the review cards. I know we've been going around about this a lot. We used to give them the cards, and then we found technicians would fill out the cards. That they were great.
Oh,
they were wonderful. They were the best people in the world, the best technicians. They were friendly. Give these guys a raise. They're amazing. So the cards went
what a great
in the
idea.
garbage. In the garbage. And we started sending out the review links. To get program Sotellus is the one we use, and that's who sponsors it. So we just click, job's done, click, send. It's automatic. It's actually matched with our other CRM system. So as soon as we complete the job, it goes out. There's perfect. No time. Like, we can find out in real time. Because honestly, I want them to know. I mean, if I really was crazy, I'd say give it 2 or 3 days, because somebody will probably always find some fault somewhere. So we send them out quickly, just because we know they're happy right now. And 3 days from right now, the kid might have dropped some milk on the floor and you were the bad guy.
Right.
So we do try to get them out as quick as possible. But we found that little trick made a big difference, because, like you said before, the HVAC company and the water restoration company, taking that away from now, they don't know. In fact, we used to say, we're not going to send them to everybody. You just won't know who we're going to send them to.
Right. Yeah.
And we did send them to everybody, by the way. But I mean, there were certain people you probably didn't want to send them to, and there were rare times. And even to this day, I go, no, I'm not sending them a review link. Click. No, there's nothing going to come out of this good, no matter how you handle it. But generally, they go out, and we just did the mystery shopper routine, like mystery review. You were going to have, if the customers didn't feel they got their money's worth, they didn't feel you were respectful in their homes, didn't feel they did the right job, then we're going to know. And you're not going to know when we send it. So it could be, you got 5 stops today on your route, to go to. 3 might get it, 2 might get it, 1 might get it. You don't know.
Right.
And that fixed it all. I mean, I watched them go up, and my old partner was just this, it was like the odd couple. I was Felix and he was Oscar. So we all understand that. He was definitely Felix and I was definitely Oscar. So I have to be the person to go, guys, stop screwing it up. Stop that. I had to be the bad guy.
Right.
I didn't like being the bad guy, but sometimes you got to have a bad guy hat. He couldn't be the bad guy until he finally had enough, and he would just lose his mind.
Right.
I says, why do you get yourself distressed like that? How about just manage a situation and at the time? So I appreciate your time. What are some other pieces of advice you could give to service businesses that you think we haven't technically discussed about, or some real key points?
Well, I think for me, it's just having some kind of structure around customer service. Like, do your people know what to do? For example, this one company, the technician couldn't pull up in front of the house in the truck and text or whatever. Like, you arrive, you get out, you go. Like is that written down? Is it clear what you want your people to do? And are you communicating that? That's kind of, because if you don't know what you want them to do, if they're not consistent, because you'll have a good technician one day, but this guy's good, but this one's not,
Right. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's the consistency is really the key, I think. Right.
The key is inconsistency. Everything you do.
Exactly.
I mean, think about the military.
Oh, right. Right.
And they have what's called SOPs, or standard operating procedures. And they drill over and over, and they do PT in the same routine over and over again. Why did they do that? Is everybody a moron? No, they do it because you get used to it. It's routine. And I used this example yesterday. I says, you know what? I'm really bad with seatbelts. Now, I know I got to wear one. It's the law, and it's bad if you don't, and you could really get hurt not wearing one. But if I skip it one day, I'll skip it for 5 days. So I have to make sure. I literally would put, I know I got to do it, and I will put it, but sometimes I'm down the block or 3 blocks away before I put it on. It's convenient to do that.
Right.
It's just stupid. That's when the cop will pull over and say, "You moron, your seatbelt on in front of me." You can't skip it. It's like you said before, if they consistently do something, a company consistently works on the guys. It's you can't, we have a routine when we go into a house to do a job. We show up, we don't park in the driveway without the customer's permission. It's just, they might have just had that thing sealed or moved or worked on, and you don't know, and you just really made it a bad day. So we never pull in the driveway without the permission. But we have a system to go into place, go up. Yes, everything's digital. It's walk through the house, see what's got to get done. Is it matching up what's on the work order? Fine. Any areas of concern, any pets in that, a regular standard routine. And we have to do that routine working from the furthest place backwards, because we're not efficient if we don't. We have to keep ourselves moving. We don't just sit there and have coffee with the customers. Not that I don't want them to have coffee with our customers. Let's make sure the work is moving while you're doing coffee. It's not a problem. I'm not, strict by any means when it comes to that, but we got to make sure the flow is going. There's a system behind everything you're doing. And then part of that system is communicating and saying, Mrs. Smith, we're going to go to the farthest point in the house. We're going to work our way back. So we're going to go from this area to this area, this area. So if you have to move, Fifi the cat to to this room, just we'll let you know and we'll move it or whatever you want to do. Are there any other animals in the house? Most people say they're kids. It's kind of cruel, but they do. They talk about the kids. Not just kids. I got kids, just kids. And so, that's fine. But we have a protocol and a system that goes into place every single time. It's almost like I have a checkoff list over here.
That's correct.
This is a podcasting checkoff list. This is for me.
Right.
So I keep looking at it and making sure I'm getting things done. But it's a list to make sure things are getting done over and over operationally. And I agree. That's your center of customer service, and right there. And I use the word, I learned this from Jay Abraham years ago. You want to make a customer a client. Client's a person that's going to be with you long term. A customer is transactional. They might go away tomorrow. So you're really in the client acquisition business and trying to maintain that relationship. Yes. When we were in disaster restoration, how often are we going to see Mrs. Smith's water damaged house? Probably not often for Mrs. Smith. I hope that's true. But, you still have to perform the job right, because they can still write a review. Yes, you're probably not going to do work for her again because you're in the disaster restoration. You're probably not going to clean up another flood. That doesn't mean you can't do that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. You have to put those things, I'd imagine, in place to maintain it. So how can our listeners find out more about you?
They can go to my website.
It's the website.
Which is my name. So barbarakhozam.com. It's very difficult. barbarakhozam.com. My last name is spelled Khozam.com. Yeah.
It's an easy one to remember.
It is.
Perfect. And I'll make sure it's in the show notes too as well. Please.
Oh, perfect.
Please reach out to Barbara. And if you have any questions about it, she has a wealth of experience. She's been doing this for a long time. She's spoken to people literally all over the world. I watched a speech in Taiwan. So that is literally all over the world. And when people think, well, they don't have the similarities, they do. I'm sure you can tell our listeners they have more similarities than they're probably aware of.
That's right. Well, because every human being wants to feel valued, and they want to feel recognized. And that's really what customer service is about, recognizing and valuing other human beings.
Absolutely. Just treating people with common courtesy or common respect. And
that's right.
And it's not that hard. It's
I know.
Everybody has an off day, but it doesn't take that much. You got to go into places and forget about your bad day at home, your bad day here. The last customer was not nice. Okay, fine. Just move on. It's another person.
We've all
had them. You have to just take and go. Deep breath.
Yeah. Right. Have you heard you've heard the Disney philosophy, right?
No.
So Disney employees are called cast members. They're not employees, they're cast members. They have an expectation that when they go to work, they're on stage. They're playing a role. And so our role is to deliver an extraordinary customer experience to every customer every time. Doesn't matter what's going on at home. Doesn't matter what's going on in the truck. Because when I'm on. Now, when I get in my truck and I'm driving away, and I take my badge off, I can go back into misery. But but when we're on, we're on. And it's kind of a nice way of separating, you know, like just for the time being, I'm going to put that aside. Right now, you are my focus. If more people could do that, I think we'd get better results.
You just gave the biggest tip of the entire podcast right there. It's very simple. Now, you know, I never really thought about it. I know Imagineers, and I've had two guys on from Disney. One was a third level top executive, third from the top, and told me about how the experience. Real quick, what he had said is, I says, you know, I understand when you get to a Disney facility, we'll call it a facility for purposes of this podcast. We go out to a site and you walk in the gate and your entire experience is managed from then on out. He goes, that is absolutely not true. Wow, that's what I always thought it was. I have friends that have gone to Disney. I have a friend that I'll see next week that is a senior Imagineer with Disney, opened up a bunch of projects, opened up Pleasure Island, which was a disaster. But, you know, he did all these different things as part of it. And he's like, the experience starts the second you book it online, whether that's through a travel agent, whether that's through Disney Direct, whether that's through whatever. From the time you get to the airport, to the time you're picked up at the airport, till the time you return home, the end. The entire experience has been managed. And I went, holy.
I agree.
Really? He goes, every ounce of it.
I agree.
Trust me, it was one of my biggest focal points. And it's not that I started that way. It was their core value from day one. So if you did manage the experience from A to Z, literally.
Yeah, each touch point. Like, for example, you know, it drives me crazy. These companies like HVAC and plumbing, their phone number. I can't find the phone number. That should be on the top of every page,
yeah. I think people do more damage to their self by just being ignorant and stupid. I have no other way to say it. Then they need to be. And that's why companies, and I had this gentleman on that went from absolutely nothing. I mean, to feeding him, the story was unbelievable. Feeding his kid literally out of a dumpster to support his family and his son, to probably a $10 million a year service company in the Upper West, Seattle. I mean, young guy too, he's at least 10 years younger than I am. And he probably more than that, but he gave this incredible story of where he came and he got himself in a lot of trouble. He was in legal trouble. He was in this, and how he worked his way out of it and changed his mindset and built something up to be able to over deliver and rapidly grow his company. It's one of the fastest growing companies in the country at this point in time.
Wow,
His
cool.
story was absolutely amazing. But he's so focused on that. He's so focused on making sure the entire experience from A to Z is done correctly. It's almost like he took the blueprint right out of Disney and mastered it for the cleaning and restoration field. And now he's into, it's pure this, pure that of Seattle. And it's incredible. I mean, in a very competitive market, but he's done it.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable. I remember watching him on little forums and asking, how do I get stains out of a rug? He doesn't worry about getting stains out of a rug anymore because he actually focused on the big picture.
Yeah, right.
So, Barbara, thank you so much for being here today. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yes, I just thought of it when you were just talking. We were just talking about these touch points. I would recommend that they get in their customer's shoes. Like, I'm a professional mystery shopper. And just from start to finish, pretend like you're your own customer and see all the different touch points, because you'll see where the snafus are or where there's incontinuity. You can learn a lot by taking their journey. So that was my last tip.
That's a great tip. It really is, because now you're putting yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, because you don't know unless you're there.
Can't walk a mile in somebody else's shoes until you have.
That's right.
All right. Barbara, thanks so much again. I appreciate very much you being here.
My pleasure.
I would love to get you back on another time, and all the best. Please stay safe out there in San Diego.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Bye. You too. Bye.